Doing? Just get the DVD player. Oi! What are you doing? Get him back!
On the morning of the 26th of June, a man is rushed to hospital in a critical condition, and scene of crime officer Simon Pole is called in to investigate.
I'm going to have to ask you guys to be careful so as not to trample all over my crime scene here. So if you can stay behind me, and I'm just going to go into the scene and assess it as best I can. Good morning, gentlemen.
Hi Simon, nice to see you.
This is the initial area of disturbance. It would appear that there's actually a visible shoe print here indented in the soil. It also appears that the soil is then carried on the shoe and has been dropped on the carpet here. We'll try an electrostatic lift on that. I'm just going to indicate here the parameters of the mark for the photographer so that he knows what to photograph. This is just an address label to identify the shoe mark when it gets to court, so we know where it's come from.
Simon immediately enlists scene of crime photographer Paul Canning, so he can record the shoe marks before anything is disturbed.
We've got quite a good example of a shoe mark in earth here, which has been labelled up, and the most important thing really is to put an element of scale in to show the size. And the next thing really is it's important to actually get the camera square and over the top of the mark. Once the camera's actually been set up, the next most important feature is the lighting. So with our lamp here, really, because the mark is in earth, we can actually see clearly this pattern showing up. So as well as helping us to focus up the camera, the lighting here, using the Seek and Search lamp, is going to actually determine where I'm going to put my flash. So I can actually light the mark like that, and then I can bring my flash gun in and take the shot.
The scene of crime photographer and videographer build up a picture of events that took place. All the images gathered will be shown in court. Nothing is edited or erased by law. The baseball bat is of obvious interest, as it may have been used in the struggle.
Yeah, we've got a weapon here. Looks as though it may have been used in the assault. We don't know who it belonged to, but I'm going to take it away and put it in a weapons tube here to preserve any evidence that might be on the surface.
But the real find is the pair of glasses. Closer inspection reveals fibres trapped in the hinge. A possible lead.
Let's go back to the shoe mark that we saw initially when we came in. The shoe appears to have trodden in the soil here, and then it's been transferred into the pile of the carpet. If you add some oblique light to it here, we can see it. Now, we'll be able to lift this by using an electrostatic lifting machine, which puts about 40,000 volts across it, and hopefully will lift the charged particles onto this sheet. You can see how it sucks down onto the carpet. Okay, let's see what we've got. Now this should have drawn the dust out of the carpet, and if you add some oblique light here, you should be able to see the shoe mark. Now hopefully that will be identifiable. This is the area where the victim was found on the floor after the assault. Now in my experience, the assailant often leans across the body and will touch the areas around here. So I'm going to get Pete with our crime scope to have a look at this area and see if we can bring up some evidence.
What we're going to do now is we're actually going to search this particular part of wall using the crime scope, and actually going to be using the ultraviolet light source to actually see if we can produce any marks that we can't see with the human eye. So we can have the lights off, please.
The crime scope works on the principle of fluorescence. Light emitted at one wavelength is absorbed and then re-emitted at another by certain chemicals. This phenomenon is what causes white clothes to glow under UV light in a nightclub. And Simon's hunch is right. A hand mark is revealed.
Yes, it's a very, very nice mark. Shouldn't be a problem lifting that one at all.
What I'm doing here is dusting for fingerprints. I'm just applying aluminium powder to the surface, and that's sticking to any moisture that might be on the surface. Fingers, as they sweat, leave moisture on the surface as it's touched, and that's in the ridge patterns of the fingers. Now obviously we've got lots and lots of different marks here, and hopefully we can pick up some of the villain's fingerprints. Right, I'm going to lift the fingerprints off now. For this we use a low adhesive sellotape, just very simple stuff. The tape lifting the powder off the surface. And lifting the marks away. These are then put onto a clear plastic sheet of Cobex, and that then becomes my exhibit, which will be sent up to Scotland Yard, and the marks will be compared on the Police National Computer against any sets that we might already have on file. It's all a bit Blue Peter, but it works. Yeah, I've got a sign across it. That's the only other thing, because I have to make it my exhibit. Do you mind if I do that?
And a similar technique, this time with iron filings, is used to recover the finger marks on the wall. A computer database at New Scotland Yard holds the fingerprints of every convicted criminal in the UK, making it the investigative team's first port of call.
Yeah, we've had this one in as an aggravated burglary. The guy was at home when the burglary happened and he's been stabbed, quite seriously ill. So could I ask you to fast track this one through for us?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, thanks.
The finger marks from the crime scene are scanned into the computer database.
You can see that if you put your hand on it, you can see that it's these fingers, it's a sequence, and I'll pick out the best mark to search on the database. Obviously, the more unique features that you can point out, the better the computer will be able to pick out the right respondent. There is no set number, no, until I'm satisfied with it, really.
The characteristics that Yin is looking for are ridge breaks, ridge endings, and ridge divides.
Okay, right, I'm satisfied with that now, so what we'll do is send it off for search on the database. Looks like we might have a match, but I'll have to confirm it. There are quite a lot of characteristics in both marks, And I mean, I'm really satisfied that it is definitely this mark is from the same person. So I think we can now send out someone to arrest this afternoon.
Hello, Wayne. Nice to see you back. But a stabbing this time, though? Not really your style, is it?
You're wasting your time. It wasn't me.
So how come your prints are all over the place?
I already told them out there. I was there doing some decorating.
Apologies about the state of the office. As you'll see, the Commissioner doesn't waste his money on luxury accommodation for us. Now, we've had some really good news, in as much as the fingerprints found at the scene have actually gone ident with a suspect. The unfortunate bit is that he's claiming legitimate access to the premises in that he's been there previously. The only good thing is, when he was arrested, we actually found there was another man with him. He had a bag of tools, and we're hoping that the tools in that bag are going to be able to be matched back to the scene.
The crowbar recovered from the second suspect is submitted for forensic analysis. A silicon rubber cast from an imprint made in lead is compared under microscope with a cast taken at the crime scene.
Now, if you look at the two images side by side, you can see that the marks are identical. There are at least 7 points of similarity. The more points of similarity that you have, the more confident you can be of a definite match. But with this particular sample, I would say there was a high degree of certainty that this tool was the same tool that was used at the crime scene.
So, can you confirm that this is the crowbar that was in your possession when you were arrested? Well, for the purposes of the tape, the suspect refuses to answer. This is a dust lift from the crime scene. At the moment you probably can't see too much, but when I shine an oblique light across it, you can see that the lift shows a very, very clear shoe mark on that surface. I've been given a pair of trainers from a suspect to compare with the crime scene mark, and that is done with a special chemical and a photographic piece of paper, and it's done in this fashion, which gives a very good impression of the pattern on the base of the trainer. What we'll do now is to compare one with the other. We can immediately see here there's some wear in this area here, and you can see here on the shoe the area there is completely worn away there. Opposite there's some cut damage which we can see quite clearly just there on the dust lifted shoe mark there. I'm convinced with the wear pattern on the shoe and the large amounts of damage on the base of the shoe, which compare exactly with the lifted mark from the crime scene, that I will be able to go to court and say I am 100% certain that that shoe and no other shoe made that mark at the crime scene.
Okay, Jason, do you want to help me out here? Because I'm a little confused. You see, it's your crowbar that broke open the door. And we've got your shoe marks in the soil from the plant pot, which puts you there at the time of the assault. And yet you say you were never there. Jason?
No comment.
Here's the jumper that's just come in. We'll have a look and see if there's anything interesting. We've got some pollen here. Now I can do something with this.
Forensic science isn't just about evidence left behind at the crime scene. We also unwittingly pick up evidence wherever we go. Anne-Marie Brennan is a botanist with a special interest in pollen.
You can see pollen at quite a low magnification, but here we've got a very high one, and this is lovely. And I think I know what this is. I think that we are talking lily pollen here. Looks like a miniature sugar puff. This pollen will look like other lily pollen, but will look completely different to pollen of a different species, because pollen is species specific. It has to be, because otherwise one plant will be able to fertilise any other and there'll be mayhem. We are talking about lily, and one thing we can say is that this person who's been wearing this jumper has been in contact with lilies.
It just keeps getting better. We've got pollen on your jumper that comes from lilies, just like the ones in that poor guy's living room.
Maybe I like flowers. Perhaps I bought some for my girlfriend.
Don't mess me about, Jason. That bloke's seriously ill. He could die.
The fibres found on the glasses at the crime scene appear to match fibres taken from the first suspect's hooded top. Chromatography is used to compare the dyes from each sample.
This is a dye extracted from the fibres found at the scene of the crime. What I'm going to do is spot the dyes along a special line known as the origin. This tube contains the fibres taken from the suspect, and we'll apply this dye as far away as possible from your crime scene sample. We basically place the plate into the tank, ensuring that the solvent is actually covering the bottom of the plate, and then reseal the tank.
As the solvent rises up the plate, it carries with it the component dyes. Some dyes are more strongly attracted to the plate than others and are held back.
Take the plate from the tank. You can see just by looking at it, the 5 spots for the crime scene sample and the 5 spots for the suspect sample are identical, and this is another piece of good corroborative evidence.
Yeah. And you're sure they're a perfect match? All right. Well, thanks for that. Cheers now. Bye. All right, Wayne. Truth time. That was the lab. They've analysed the fibres they found on the victim's glasses, and it seems they're a perfect match for the top that you were wearing when we picked you up. And the only explanation is that they got there during the struggle.
Gosh, so there could be loads of people with a top like mine.
Oh, it's a bit of a coincidence, though, isn't it? Just like your handprint on the wall. Look, Wayne, you can do yourself a bit of a favour here. We both know that you and your mate were there at the time of the assault. What I want to know is who stabbed him.
Things are really coming together now. We can put both our suspects at the scene of the assault at the time it occurred. The problem arises in that they're not talking to us, so we don't know which one of them actually committed the assault. There's no fingerprints on the knife, and so I'm going for the last chance saloon here, and I'm submitting the toothpick from the Swiss Army knife in the hope that we can obtain some DNA from it.
Do you know what this is, Jason?
Yeah. Swiss Army knife.
And what are Swiss Army knives famous for? Having lots of attachments. You better pray you didn't use this.
The toothpick from the knife used in the attack is swabbed for DNA, which can then be prepared for analysis. The chances of two people sharing the same DNA profile are 1 in 70 million. So in conjunction with the other evidence, a match is conclusive. For greater accuracy, the DNA is scanned by an automated genetic analyser.
Okay, this tray gets put into the machine like this. And what then happens is the sample will come up through this wire here, and when it gets to this point is where it gets separated, gets detected on different sizes and different colours, and then that gets put through into the computer. Okay, so we shut all this up. And then we just come over to the computer and start the run. Okay, these graphs illustrate the DNA taken from the suspect along the top and from the toothpick along the bottom here. As you can see, there's a series of peaks and they all seem to line up. For instance, here on the suspect's DNA, there's a green, black, black, blue, blue, which matches exactly in position and in colour. The bottom, green, black, black, blue, blue. And if you look at the graph as a whole, we can see that it is a match, and I'm confident, therefore, that the DNA taken from the toothpick matches the DNA from the suspect.
Some success, and I'm feeling really pleased with myself. We've actually managed to obtain a DNA ident on the toothpick from the Swiss Army knife. Now, this means that we know it was the second assailant who actually did the stabbing, and the fact that it's his knife and the fact that he brought it onto the premises with him means that he's now looking at a charge of aggravated burglary and a much longer sentence. It's a good result.
Check out this TV. What are you doing? Let's get the DVD player.
It looks like the homeowner was awoken by the intruders. It was then that he decided to have a go.
Oi! What's he doing?
That was a big mistake. In the ensuing struggle, the second intruder has actually stabbed him with the Swiss Army knife. The stabbing was probably pure panic. Even so, it was nearly fatal.
Stabbed him?
Luckily for us, people leave evidence behind wherever they go. It's just a question of knowing where to look for it.
Aggravated burglary carries a maximum sentence of life imprisonment. Not all criminal investigations run as smoothly as this, but real science goes a long way towards bringing criminals to justice.